Oh, it's recording. It didn't say that it was recording in progress, but okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. This is Jenna McClellan's talking about my favorite topic of choice, healing from circumcision. I am a spiritual healer and who helps men heal from trauma, including the trauma of circumcision. This is a topic that is very dear to me, very dear to my heart, very dear to my soul, and it has essentially become my life. You guys pretty much know all this. Today, we are being met with a sister and dear friend, Elis Avellan. Am I saying that correctly? I know you have the most beautiful accent whenever you say it. Give it to me.
Yeah, so in Spanish it would be Avellan,
Avellan,
or people say Avalon. Yeah.
Avellan. It's adorable, and she's adorable. Wait until you hear her speak. Has a really close relationship with me because in the very beginning of my journey as I guess, sexually awakened woman, I had a sexual wellness brand for women to offer alchemical practices so that they can connect deeply to their body, deeply to their yoni, their sexuality, their reproductive organs, and utilize that power as an awakening of the divine feminine so that I can live in authenticity and truly experience embodiment and radical responsibility. So Elis is not only am I about to share that she's like an incredible catalyst and relationship coach, she's an incredible photographer. I don't think she's doing much photography these days, but we became friends whenever I had this vision for my old brand, Elure. And we set off on multiple journeys of going deep into what it's like behind the scenes for a deeply embodied, connected woman. And through these images, you actually see my transformation. And Elise saw me and was present with me and really felt the energy in the heart of who I was and who the brand was and what it could be. So to say that she's played an important role would be an understatement. She's seen me in a way that has really helped me see myself. So we are met with Elis. Elis is a somatic, emotional, and intelligence catalyst who specifically works with intimacy, relationships, one-on-one, depending if you're masculine or feminine. She is so embodied. Her body is incredible. And she's just in her dance moves. If you haven't followed her, you need to. She's just such a beautiful, beautiful woman to witness, and I love witnessing your growth, and I'm so happy that you're here, Elis. I have one thing that I really loved about your messaging in, yeah, your bio on your website, and what you said was: the basis of my work is the profound understanding that the body holds the key to its own healing. It is the self-correcting organism capable of unwinding the complexities that have caused disconnection. So, as a relationship alchemist and nervous system guide, she helps people remember how to love without abandoning themselves, weaves somatics, emotional intelligence, shadow work with a sharp transformative guidance that helps rewire people or her clients to show up authentically and in deep connection with themselves. So, here we are. Elise, thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you. Would
Thank you.
you, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself just so we get started, because I kind of want to get into the who so we can really nourish what's happening and create a great foundation so we know how we're going to be supporting our conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that intro, and thank you for just your reflection on how we began our journey together. I mean, I think it's been 4 years now,
Mhm.
since we've known each other, and I remember immediately when I met you that I was just so impressed with you and the force that you are. And again, back then, I think we both saw each other as what we were going to become, even though we hadn't fully stepped into it, and we're still stepping into it. Um, but I already saw you that way. I saw you with the same force, and it's been a complete honor to see you step into it with courage in spite of everything that you've had to let go of and let fall apart.
Yeah,
Um, it's
thank
been
you.
a big journey for you. And a beautiful one to witness, even though it's been very painful and transformative.
Yeah.
It is like seeing wings just come out of you, unfurling and shining. And now this work that you're doing, it just, you know, when I think about the work that you're doing now, because the brand alone, Allure was like, wow, thank you for doing this for women. I mean, I love that oil so much. I have a bottle with me that I literally take with me to Barton Springs because I put it on my face and my body even. Like, I'm like, I don't only use it for my yoni. So it's been like, that oil alone was so inspiring, but then just the work that you're doing with circumcision and with men feels like, again, like a love for men and for women. And you're really just stepping into it with so much grace and compassion and very directed. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I started this work of intimacy as a result of childhood trauma and just my desire to essentially save my family. They say we're, you know, I learned a lot through family constellations, and I view the world and everything that we're all doing as individuals through that lens a little more. Like, I inherently believe, I believe that people are not inherently bad. There's nothing actually wrong with anyone. We're all just trying to survive. And anytime that we are tracking any danger, and depending on how our nervous system's developed, perceiving danger too close to restful times, then we are more prone to perceiving a lot more danger for things that are not actually dangerous, and developing strategies for survival that keep us disconnected versus actually emotionally connected to each other as adults. And that's just survival techniques. So until we actually recognize that the way that we developed our nervous systems was through chaos, and the things that helped us survive yesterday is not helping us connect today, we are kind of like shooting blind in our lives and not understanding why we're so disconnected. So the first thing that I do is unchain people from the notion or the belief that they are wrong. So really accepting that you're just a living being surviving, and that it wants to feel good, and that it's always trying to choose the best way possible to feel good. And sometimes, if it feels unintegrated, ashamed, and guilty, it will hide the sneaky ways it's trying to meet those needs. But if it's fully revealed in its shame, and it's allowed to exist and feel significant in in its totality, it will do it out of the shadows, which will include consideration of others, not just itself in survival. And it's a very nuanced world, because just admitting it can be very revelatory for people. And immediately you see people's protectors go off, even just giving them permission to admit that they might be in a strategy move to get their needs met. Just accepting.
Would you equate this personality, if you will, as the inner child?
Yes, that's what I thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things I introduce in the language of my work is the notion of the inner child. There is always an inner child that has not been met. First of all, we just have to accept that without shame. There's a lot of pride that comes online when I bring up the notion that the little one is the one reacting and responding in partnership or at work. People get really proud. They're like, no, I'm a fucking adult, you know? And it's like, you are an adult. And if you felt unmet emotionally, even one day in your life, that was an unmet moment that might react differently as an adult in your body. And so, and they always say, well, how do I know when it's my inner child? When there's some telling signs. A child doesn't know tomorrow is okay. It needs the answer right now. It has no notion of time. So if you're in a rush and you need an answer now, and you're in a tantrum panicking, then that's your inner child speaking. So your child does not have a notion of time. A child does not know it is safe in space. So if you are talking with someone and that person needs space, a lover, a colleague, a friend who you're in conflict with, and they're taking space from answering you, then the child in you will be panicking about it. It feels abandoned. But the robust adult that knows better would understand that that is okay, that you can get back to the conversation when you're both regulated. The child does not know how to regulate itself. The child will need a co-regulator. So what happens is, unless if you're not able to regulate yourself, then you are mostly responding from your child nature. And so all those are telling signs that you still have unintegrated child uh, characteristics and unmet childhood needs.
Yeah.
You
Would you
are
say that the majority of society is operating from this unintegrated inner child?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's like a weird, I'm gonna move a little bit of the sun.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, just, I would say most of society is traumatized. We come from a very uneducated, emotionally unintelligent, war traumatized, lack of education on intimacy, turn on, sex, emotional, like life and intelligence. There's just, our parents come from so much trauma. There's not enough information. And there's so much denial and bypassing in every generation up until now that, of course, most of us have an unintegrated child inside that actually needs to be met with a lot of love and compassion, the same that you needed back then.
Yeah. And here's a question that's coming to me, and I don't, maybe this, I'm just going to say it straight. Do you notice, is there more of an activated inner child in women, more so or less than men? Or do you see, or is it usually just the whole human experience in general is both
I think,
affecting each?
yeah, I think it's both. But to answer your question, in that, I think that there is definitely more willingness in the feminine because the feminine lives in the emotional landscape. So we are more allowed to be in our emotions, which means we have more willingness to meet ourselves there. We are the ocean, but the feminine also exists in the body of men. But it's seen as a weakness because it has no direction to the masculine uh, a desire to go from A to B. So when you remove the feminine information of the emotional landscape, the disarray, the all of that, the tsunami of emotions that exists in the feminine principle inside all of us, if you remove that, you shut it down, the masculine is making decisions without being informed by the feminine. And you can see that in like big societal moves, like places like the Middle East, they have quiet out the feminine so much, the women and the feminine influence, that all the choices are so masculine and so disconnected from being a coherent society. And if you just come to the West, yes, there's a lot of feminine influence, but it's still so masculinized and seen as inconvenient and weak. Run like a girl, don't cry like a girl. Oh, you cry. And all of that is a negative view of the feminine landscape, but the feminine itself is more willing to meet itself in its emotional landscape, which then looks like we can meet the inner child better. But I would say with all of my clients, I have an equal amount of feminine of women and men that I work with. About pretty much every time, every cycle, it's about 50-50 of one-on-ones or two-on-ones. And all of them touch their inner child pretty much the same time, the same amount.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, the dichotomy of the masculine and the feminine creating this whole, but yet we are such in a masculine dominated culture in how we run and operate that it's definitely imbalanced. But then we're adding on the stifling of emotion, the male conditioning
Right.
of how men are brought up, what they are told they can and can't do, what a true real role model looks like,
Right.
the bullying, the mockery. It basically, it's like it rips that feminine portion out of them, or rather it represses that aspect of them to such a degree that is so in there that even trying to face her or bring her forward, it's like you can't help but have all these thoughts of pussy, or that is weak, or you're not supposed to do this. So it's just, it's really sad when you open the door to understanding what's happened to men, and when we're talking about the inner child and relationship to
Mm.
women. So when you can see this contrast that, sure, has our femininity also been hushed and quieted? Yes, absolutely, there's a lot of shame there, but our natural inclination to just
Mhm.
operate always from the heart and from connection gives us an easier path to a certain degree.
Right.
Um, right. And so for men, it's very much more, okay, I don't know how this path can ever be paved for me because every aspect of my feminine is so deep inside. I have absolutely no idea how to touch her. And if I even try to look for her, automatically I feel like, am I going to be ostracized? Am I going to be able to have someone to communicate this with? Am I
Mhm.
in isolation? What is this even anyone even care about me? Is it better that I just die?
Right. You know, ironically, the more men deny their feminine, the more it becomes unhinged and runs their entire reality. So the more hyper emotional reactive men, which is actually a very feminine trait, is the men who are denying the feminine inside. The
Wow.
men who deeply listen to her within them are so integrated that they let their emotional landscape inform their masculine direction and focus in their lives, and they feel super integrated and super grounded and can hold space for their own emotions and that of their feminine partners and mothers and sisters without going in disarray because they're not denying her inside. It's so ironic how you feel like if you feel a little like she's weak, she's going to run the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you think about the Middle East, they have denied the outward public presence of the feminine, but they are the most hyperly emotional humans, almost societal human, like their decision making feels very erratic and emotional, um socially, because she is the feminine is running the show in a way because she feels completely unhinged inside of them, like that she has no voice, so it's like a volcano coming out. And so really the balance is the feminine slows us down when the tsunami is coming. We feel a lot of intensity inside of us that is informing us of a boundary or something that needs to be heard. And it feels completely inconvenient to the moment when an emotional wave comes through for all of us. But if we can just slow down and let the wave show us what's there, it'll inform our masculine directive how to move in the world. And if we just let that happen, more clarity comes through, like nothing else. And it's really just more space to be who we are with less judgment about what it might mean about our identity.
Yes, exactly. Is this an authentic identity? Is this something that somebody else told me that I needed
Mhm.
to take on? So there's so many things coming up in my mind right now as well that I just like want to rip and get into, but I'm gonna have
Mhm.
to pause because I kind of want to get there because there's just so much valuable information to one talking about circumcision and its physical and metaphysical impacts on not only the human being and the soul itself, but also on society, women, and culture. And it made me feel in the very beginning of my journey just even more seen by you when I was putting myself out there and talking about the most controversial topic like on the planet. And I remember in the very beginning, you would start commenting or you would reply to my stories and be like, my sister, like my heart is broken. I can't believe this. Or thank you so much for doing this work. So many dots are starting to connect for me, which is leading me into the next question. I want to kind of hear whenever from your perspective, when all of a sudden here I was doing the yoni, the oils, and all this sexual alchemy. And then it was just like, why all circumcision kind of became my big thing. And how did that start turning some lights on in you? And how did you start to see some of
Mhm.
the same things? Like how was what I was saying reflecting what you were experiencing through your work?
I want to say that the fact that you asked that question, and I didn't even know you were going to ask that question. Um, but as I was getting ready to do this with you, to have this conversation, this came through. Is me remembering how pivotal that moment was for me.
Yeah,
Um,
let's hear it. Oh my gosh, I have the
it's
goosebumps.
kind of emotional because it's actually really emotional because
Mm,
I I I felt so dissonant after years of trying to make something work with a long-term ex, an amazing man. And the experience of him being circumcised and then going and dating a man who was not, and the difference in their level of sensitivity. And I speak to sensitivity in the realms of sensitivity to their bodies, which then results into a sensitivity of me. And it's interesting because one seemed way more, so that the long-term relationship, he was seemingly more emotionally attuned because of the space he had for how he was raised around being just loving and educated and very like met by his parents in that way. So that was available in him. And then I dated someone who was not circumcised. So you could say he was not circumcised, breastfed, raised at home, but like series of circumstances basically left him feeling like in a lot of pain around his relationship to his mother and disconnected from the feminine as well in a different way than circumcision did to this one. And just feeling the difference in those two and how it affected me and what opened in me for them romantically, sexually, and what closed me. And again, it was almost like if I could totally deny it and I could totally overlook it. And it was not even in my radar until you started talking about circumcision. And then I started looking at it through that lens. Could that be a bigger reason for why I am more met by this man who doesn't seem as available emotionally, but actually is, because he was not circumcised? His sensitivity was huge compared to what I felt like. I couldn't tell you numbness from this one, who did not open me. And for those of you listening, this is so subtle and nuanced, and it's not about shaming either. We're all victims of the society we were born into and the lack of information our parents had. And so we're all just responding to a system that is trying to figure out itself. And yes, there's victimizers out there really trying to like knock us out. But again, we're here having this conversation because we want to, the only way for us to actually propel ourselves forward is to recognize those tiny nuanced things that make a difference in our openness, in our individual openness towards more loving connection. I recognized that my latest partner had a level of cultivated sensitivity because from birth, there was something intact in him. And I just get chills, like my whole body. Not only that, a level of sovereignty,
Wholeness.
wholeness, physical and emotional sovereignty, mental sovereignty. There is an ability in my latest partnership that he could actually, he felt way more sovereign to me in a way that is not obvious to the naked eye and to the people just looking at the on paper what these two men look like. Anybody will tell you this one was way more cultivated than this one. But when you just drop deeper into it, this one has a level of personal cultivation and sovereignty that my entire body responded to with a yes, yes, it's that one, it's that one. And on paper, people can look like anything, but your body is telling you the truth. And is guiding you to your medicine, is guiding you to your next level medicine and your legacy. And it, again, you have to find out, well, are they actually aligned and are they actually capable? But when you asked about that, yeah, it was pivotal, and it changed the way I look through a lens that now I'm bringing to all of my clients, and it feels pivotal.
Wow. Wow. And I love how you said it's very subtle and nuanced.
Mhm.
In it's an energetic that we pick up on. I mean, energy precedes matter, and we are energetic beings. And so our ability to kind of feel the difference, specifically as women who are very sensitive to this type of stuff, specifically with connection, and to be able to see the contrast of it is quite mind blowing.
Mhm.
Not to say like there's no shaming here of any men that have been cut, but the foreskin itself is so rich in connection to the neurology of the man that it helps him really deeply, deeply connect. I've had a man, and this is just coming to me. He's even shared, he was like, I've walked outside and he's like, my foreskin is so sensitive. He was like, I can almost tell where the wind is blowing. Like, he was like, there's something about being naked, being outside, and also being able to be that in tuned with my foreskin at the same time
Mm, so
is very,
beautiful.
yeah, it's really profound. And then another man that I've spoken to who is a foreskin restoration expert and actually makes the devices to help men go through foreskin restoration. And the removal of the foreskin, think about, it's a protective shield. It's protecting the glands, which is the head of the penis. And so psychosomatically, energetically, that protective shield really does do something. It
Mhm.
is if it helps confidence, it helps with safety. He's feeling like he can really protect that vulnerable part of him that should only truly be available and accessed through intimacy with a
When
very
he's ready,
special when he's
when
ready.
he's decided he's ready to come out.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
And
the first
so
thing we take away from them
the first thing, and so
after
that
they've been safe in their mother's womb. No wonder why men are so angry at mothers.
yeah, the mother wound is
Starts
impeccably
there.
deep. It starts
Starts
there.
there.
It starts there. And so this man who does the foreskin restoration, he was like, I wanted to interview him, and he was like, I don't really know about coming on camera, but I really like you, and just ask me any questions that you want. So we became like pen pals for a while. And he ended up sharing that a part of his confidence came back when he was able to regrow his foreskin and again cover the
Mm,
glands, and that his ability to be present, his orgasms were much stronger, his ability to help his to for his wife to orgasm too, that they were in bed a lot longer, they enjoyed intimacy more. And again, that whole understanding of how parts of our body affects our attitude, it affects like how we're actually behaving and working with other people and responding to the world.
mhm,
So, if there's this piece that's missing from the divine masculine, who is the ultimate shield to life, then what has been extracted and what can infiltrate in through the cracks that deeply impact him and his life and also society at large, since he is the shield for life.
exactly. Wow, that was so beautifully said,
Oh,
Jenna.
thank you.
Honestly, in somatic healing, that's exactly how it works. One of the first things that is suggested when you're doing somatic healing, and I do it with all of my clients, is okay, before we begin our session, grab a pillow that you cover your core, make sure your back has a cozy, puffy thing that is covering it. And if you have a blanket, cover with a blanket. Because when you feel your core protected, you can actually let yourself feel your
Drop in.
emotions. Till then, you're just on the surface of things. I don't know. You're here. You're in your mind. You have. You don't. Your core does not feel safe enough to touch the things that you are needing to move through, because it doesn't feel safe. Not protected enough. And so it makes sense that this thing that we've removed from babies is their first initial sovereignty piece around their most powerful. Is it literally their tool for creation and creativity and their legacy in the world? What's going to help them multiply their legacy? And we just take their shield off, and it feels like a power move, a religious power move, and it's way older. And I'm not going to say it's just religion and we know what we're talking about. We're not going to get into the specifics of it,
Yes.
out of personal protection. But if you are listening to this and you know what we're talking about, um, the opportunity here is for us to understand that moving forward, there is nothing that we should ever do unless it is to save a life, because something is completely an emergency. There is no reason to ever mutilate, cut, perforate, nothing, a child that is being born. There's no reason. I was given earrings when I was born, the first few days, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think of any, it was just culturally. Every girl, you have a
Has
vagina,
earrings. Yeah.
you get earrings.
Yeah.
And socially accepted. I'm like, why? What is that? And I didn't question it until I was in my 20s. When my friends started having babies, and the question came, when am I gonna give my babies earrings? And I was like, what is that? What makes you think that when your baby is old enough to choose? And I was like, wait, I didn't choose. And so it feels like a complete transgression and like an obvious thing. And I do wonder if even the people that are growing up with the question of religion around circumcision, that it's like a given thing, just like earrings was a given to me.
Yeah, it's an autopilot, right? Because like I love how you just all of a sudden you asked yourself that question.
So, like,
And
I'm questioning that.
yeah,
You
you
know,
just asked the question, wait, why?
why?
Which is such a powerful question and simple. One word, everybody, is we run on on tradition. We run on, well, okay, it happened to me, it happened to my mom, it happened to grandma and grandpa, and it just like it and then you just, who are you at that point?
Mhm,
Because we're so tapped in to a system that is running for us.
mhm,
So the more disconnected we are from ourselves, the more these systems are going to run our lives for us.
mhm,
So when we awaken to become more sovereign, when we awaken more to realizing like we are the director, we are the writer, the actor, everything in our lives, and we can create this. And oh my God, wait, like now I can see life for what it is. And there are all these things. And now I'm curious and I really want to understand like where I can really lead myself into or what path I want to take. And then, oh my gosh, it's time. I've met the love of my life. I'm feeling so good. How do I want to nurture this child that's growing and living inside me? Whoa, do I want to cut a piece of his dick off? Yes, I do. I want to cut a piece of his penis off because it's going to be done here in the hospital. It's pretty safe. They have all the right tools, all the things that they need. It's pain-free and it looks better.
I only had to watch. I mean, you had the dream, and I'm sure you spoken about. Have you spoken about it on your podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching, if you haven't listened to this, um, Jenna shared with me her dream of how got her into this work, and I it was basically what I experienced the first time I watched a video of this, which I
So
watched through
when
your
you are,
podcast.
oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, through one of your episodes and shared content, I watched a video of a child going comatose, like just like into a full freeze fawn newborn. Just it's crying and it comes down, and then all of a sudden it gets taken into the device that holds it down and chops him. They cut the, with no anesthesia. They cut this foreskin off, and the kid gets returned to the mother and is completely shocked. It has like glossed over eyes, and it does not understand what just happened. It's almost like there was so much pain that it completely collapsed into itself.
Yeah. Pieces of the soul will leave the body of the baby. It's so
Oh,
excruciating.
talking
And
about it
they,
makes me want to throw up, which is what you said happened to you in your dream.
yeah. So, for those who may be new and haven't seen much, I'll just kind of describe it just to give people an understanding and a visual. So 2 years ago, I woke up from a nightmare, like an actual nightmare. And I was a witness to an infant being circumcised in a medical setting. It was like all the colors, all the sterile silver aluminum and the blue garb and the head, I mean the mask, and then the head cover, the hair cover, and they ripped, and it was two men, and the baby was on the circumstrant. The baby gets tied down to a medical device that is basically like a it's disgusting. Like I remember seeing the device for the first time and being like, that's enough. Like if you could see that device and be okay with circumcision, like that is crazy to me. So the baby, I ended up seeing the baby vomit, and he had because babies only have two motor skills, cry or pass out. And so he was struck with so much pain that like he became frozen. There was like nothing that could happen other than these neon, like electric blue tears that just poured down his mouth, and then I mean his eyes, and then blood down his mouth, and then he turned his head and looked at me, and we had an energy exchange, and he said, are you here? Watch this. Do something. And I woke
Oh
up
my God, I
and
just felt it in the back of my head.
yeah, I woke up and cried. I was like squirmy and like moaning like that. I did not know
You were
what to
that
do.
child. You were completely somatically experiencing what
I
that baby was.
got, yeah, I got circumcised. And the people are gonna be like, how dare you say that? But no, like I'm telling you, like it was
In the quantum
beyond.
field, we're all connected. We're all one. We say God and all, we're all one. Yes,
Yeah.
we're all one. You
As
only have to literally just make a decision to feel the experience of another. Put yourself in their shoes. In during the dream, in the astral, you're not identified with your body. You are fully able to go into the experience of another in a quantum level. And this child showed you your dharma, your next level legacy in the world. If you would take the mission, and you said, I'll take the mission.
yeah.
And here you are. I mean, you are in
Yeah.
full mission.
Yeah, against all the odds. Circumcision. Let's
I
go.
know, and it feels so random. It's almost like people look at you, and I know that you've had a lot of like backlash with your tribe, your tribe.
My tribe, yes, I've been ostracized, I've been bullied, I've been
How
gossiped
dare you
about.
talk about people's penises
You're
online?
yeah,
These
you're
things that we all
yeah,
shame, 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 shame.
you're an embarrassment. You're doing it for attention, like all different types of things. And but what's really interesting about it is when you're so deeply tapped in to a
Mhm.
calling,
You just show up.
sorry, like you just don't, I don't care. Like you
You don't
don't
choose what
care.
turns you on. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's this thing around like people have the way that I said this sun is not chasing me. Let me see if I can move this. You don't in my dharma. My dharma is all about intimacy and sexuality, sex education. I've always been super open around the topic. I mean, since I was a child, and I have never felt that ashamed or had any qualms around bringing up talking about body parts, sexuality, turn on, and always been a voice in the field around it. When I say the field, I'm not saying just the educational field, but I guess I have, but in the field,
Yeah.
humanity
Totally.
field. And the shame that comes through some family members and people is like, oh, you just want to talk about sex. Yeah, I do. I want people to know more information that would free them, which then will result in a more sovereign, respectful world. No, you just want to talk about it because you just want to feel turned on, be like the reason. Yeah, I want to live turned on. What do you have on me? What do you think you have on me?
Right.
What do you think trying to shame me is going to do except me feel more permission to show you where you are trying to run away from? And it is the thing that you're trying to feel the most of. And there's this like deep internalized shame around wanting to admit that you want to live on, that you want to be turned on. And just that notion, just the shame in admitting that keeps you from choosing sovereignty things like not circumcising your child, because then you are for desensitizing them. then you are for making lack of sovereignty decisions. All of it is a trickle, it's a domino effect of lack of sovereignty, just because you're so ashamed, you have internalized shame around accepting that you want to be an erotically charged person and that you have the right to live turned on. So much shame around that.
Yeah, Dr. Ronald Goldman, who talks a lot about circumcision trauma, he says if a baby's sexuality isn't safe, nobody's is safe.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what I love about everything that you just said, it's like people are throwing the spell at you,
Mhm.
right? They're throwing the spell of, be autopilot, this is wrong, this is shamed, like to keep your light dim. But I love how you're doing the reverse effect. You're like, this is the reversed spell.
You can't
This
tell
is,
me.
yeah, this is exactly what it looks like to live life turned on. And as I say this, I'm just thinking like, I'm so grateful that the celestials chose me to do this work. And they chose me right at the precipice of me deeply connecting to my femininity. Like, I don't think that had I had not done the deep womb work of going into all the places that I was terrified of going into, there's no way that I would be able to hold this container to
Right.
hold something as deep as circumcision. So the problem is a lot of people, a lot of men, hence like circumcision, it's an automatic, it's doing it, but women are energetically and culturally castrated. Well, also medically too, right? So we call it genital amnesia. So like from the belly button and down, the neurotransmitters, the sensate portion, all the nerves, everything, it's super innervated all in our genitals and reproductive system. So when we turn that off and there's stagnation, there's diseases, you need to go to the hospital because you're going to have complications at birth, and you're not going to have that voice, that divine feminine anchor where you can deeply call in this beautiful voice who can stand up not only for themselves and for love and for family, but for life.
Yes. Yes. I love this because this is part of what you were, it's connecting the dots for me on what you mentioned when we connected about this conversation, which is that there is hope for all men who have gone through circumcision. And there is quantum healing to be done, spiritual quantum healing to be done around the stories of disempowerment and the archetypes built because of it, which is the work that you're doing. Um, and there's a lot of healers out there that will do that work. But it takes admitting and accepting and becoming sensitive to the part of you that is missing at an archetypal type, like an archetypal level, where you have become a more desensitized, a less sensitive version of yourself that is missing a part that wants to connect to the world with a more sovereign way. And so first is recognition, and then energetically sensing and dropping into the numbness and the rejection that's down there, that is built as a result of you being like, oh shit, I just got caught. And then can you sense it? Can you drop into the grief of it? Can you do the work with someone, whether it's someone like me that does somatic and emotional healing, or you who does a quantum spiritual archetypal work, or anyone that you resonate with? Like, can you find the people that create safety for you to feel the grief, anger, and disempowerment, and then rewire at a neurological level the parts of you that feel like that was gone? And that, just like anybody that gets amputated, they can do the work to feel like their arm is back and live amazingly fulfilling lives, but they did their emotional work around it instead of feeling like this numb person that is just not aware, not
Yeah,
aware.
I'm so happy you got there because I was about to kind of put that in. It's like, I'm have like two concepts I want to merge and create a baby with. But you were just talking about the missing portion. So a lot of men that I've come in contact with, it's it's missing. I'll never get it back. Life won't ever be the same. I'm done. I'm toast. Like,
Mhm.
there's no seeing beyond that. Like they know that I mean, there's different things that they can do. We can touch on foreskin restoration, and then there's like another implant technology that's like happening, but that's a whole nother beast to
Right.
tackle. But the notion that just because you don't have your foreskin, it does not mean like physically that you can't heal to the point to where you become so whole within yourself that you heal all of the things that happened with the imprints, with the metaphysical circumcisions of the mind, heart, and pineal gland, with all of it. Like you can fully transform into a new body. Now, physically, it might not have a foreskin, but you are now residing as a soul in a new body, capable of being present, showing up in the ways that you were talking about. One of your latest exes would behave. Like it's not over for you. Second, if you are not ready to drop the victim, you want to talk about someone who will sit and hear your grief, it's me, of any woman who has shown up for the hundreds of men. But there has to be a point where you decide to pick up the baton of this warrior, this hero's journey, and you let go of the victim.
Yes.
Because for me in my work, and one of the things I tell men at the very forefront, like, do not invest in yourself, do not work with me. If you are still holding on to victim, because I'm doing psychic work with them. So psychically, that archetype will still be alive. And anytime I do psychic work with them, they will always choose the story of the victim. And so that is such a really important piece to all of it, is to add on to everything you're saying. The wholeness can be cultivated. We can heal from these things. Your life isn't over. You can have the most beautiful relationship with a healed woman who loves her body, and she's divine and feminine and nurturing, and exuberates so much femininity because you're deeply in your masculine, because you became the hero of your life.
You became the hero of your life. And that's not to say that, okay, and this is the important part that I actually got a lot of when I was doing my somatic healing in the last 3 years, with some amazing mentors that rewire my relationship to victimhood, because I was the perennial victim of my life, waiting to be saved, always living excuses for why
Damsel.
I couldn't prepare. Yeah, I couldn't prepare myself forward, always in sleepy collapse. My survival response to everything, pretty much, which was I don't give a fuck if something is too hard. I don't give a fuck. Somebody took somebody won the thing that I wanted most. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You can take it. I was never gonna fight. And then I slowly worked through with my nervous system until my immediate response wasn't sleepy collapse. But then it was like, oh, now I want to run away. Oh, no, now I want to fight for it. And then it was like, oh, okay, now I actually don't have to fight. There's no actual conflict here. It was just more and more information, which was more regulation. But the only way for me to arrive at that level was for me to meet the part of me that felt victimized with a lot of compassion. I could not deny that there was a part of me that is like the little girl that was so denied. And if I was ashamed of her, she was going to always run the show. And so there was
100%.
so it's like, yeah, like I had to meet her and then go, I got you. And now, if you are safe enough here, gotten by me, what is your next response? What is the next level? And it's not just me, let's talk about it and let's see, oh, if you do this, then what is your next thing? No, I don't know. What is my next thing? No, you got to literally sit and feel it in the body and make space for it and meet at a level that you're like, okay, what do I need to hear to meet the little thing in my belly that feels like a vacuum, but it also feels constricted? And you're just going to sit with it and you meet it and you meet it. And it tells you it needs to be full, it needs to be held, it needs to be hear this. And you just meet it. And then before you know it, you know exactly what the next level is, which will be less of a sleepy collapse and another survival response before it is like not a survival response. It's more a parasympathetic state of empowerment and going, I don't feel victimized anymore. And you cannot talk yourself into it. It is you have to meet it by sensing and then giving it what it needs. And then it's like spiritually and emotionally, everything starts kind of
Yes.
connecting. And you're like, oh, now I have more information. Now I feel more whole. Now my robust adult hero is available in my decision making.
Yes, I love that. Everything that you're saying, I'm like, is she going to add this on? And you start talking about it. It's amazing. So, it's like that you're basically to kind of summarize a specific portion of what you just stated is there's this level of presence in being with self. And
Yes.
when you allow for this presence and being with self, there is an automatic response from the field, from the universe that
Mhm.
starts to respond and match your energy. So then all of a sudden, you don't have to think forward. Before you know it, all of a sudden, you're already have entered the next state
Yes.
of the expansion.
Yes.
Right. So it's
You
just
have to
so,
think
so
your way there.
you don't have to think. It just it shows up, and all of a sudden you're in this new reality, and you're like, "Whoa!" It happened to me the other day. I was like, "Wait a second!" Like, I'm somewhere new now, and it literally responds. And so, this may be cliche, but like the universe is working for us, and we came here into these dense bodies so that we can remember who we are. We can learn that we have the power to deeply connect to an unlimited source of information, an unlimited source of creation, and unconditional love. To utilize that, what is it like in the Bible? It's like bring to earth as it is in heaven.
Right.
Bring that in.
To you.
Allow your, yeah, bring and become that and share that unconditional love. Allow yourself to fuck up. And that self-forgiveness can be a beast.
Right.
But what can unfold when you begin to surrender? You don't know. It could be way more fascinating than you could ever imagine because it's you, this dense body against the universe, which
Right.
is like, so how can we even conceptualize this next unfoldment? But yeah, it's just so delicious.
And that, I love when people can describe the human experience as delicious. I use the word delicious a lot because it is a felt thing.
Yes.
It is a tasted thing. It is a physical, experiential thing. It's not a thought.
Somatic.
It's somatic. And our entire human experience, the spirit is having a human experience through the body, and we are taught to be ashamed of it and deny it from the moment we're born. Circumcision is one of the biggest rules against it. It is a conspiracy against the masculine to completely disconnect it from its own feminine, from mother, from the connection to earth, from to trust. And it starts there. Then men and women have almost like, well, but they're essentially their future has been disrupted from that point on. We think we are castrating emotionally. We are shutting down women. We are also doing circumcision on women all over the world, but in the West, we're doing it to men in such a like steady, systemic way that it's like it is the reason for why women are denied as well, because you're essentially telling them you cannot trust the mother that just made you for 9 months. She just allowed this. And so if you're a man and you've been through this and there's even guilt in you around admitting that you have a mother wound, but she's done so much for me, why do I am so angry with her? Because she had no idea that circumcision was wrong. So yeah, there's a part of you that needs to come to terms with that and actually forgive her and the system that either did it on purpose to like castrate you, or to or just understand that this is just the journey you came to live out and that you can change it. You can accept it. You can go through the tunnel of forgiveness with your mother, accept the rage, feel it, like go into it. It's a wave of emotions. It'll be maybe months, but it's on the longer you wait to meet that wave, those waves that are going to feel completely inconvenient to the life you have built. It might make your entire life crumble. Both Jenna and I, our whole lives completely crumbled when we accepted our dharmas. And
Yes.
and we are so much better for it. I mean, it was, if I think about it, yeah, it was emotionally, physically painful, terrifying financially for both of us. And also, thank God, man.
Thank God. I
Thank God.
mean, I would do it all over again.
All of it.
Like I would do it all over again,
And
really.
there's love and respect for the lives we had before. So much love. It was a stage in our humans, on our spiritual development. Just like if you're listening to this and you've been circumcised, or your partner's been circumcised, or you have circumcised your child, know that the journey of forgiveness is part of and all of our human experience. We get to go through waves of accepting and forgiving ourselves and others over and over and over. This is part of what we came to fuck up and to understand and let it expand us.
It's like a cycle of death and rebirth.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
such our hearts are doing
right.
this all the time. We are expanding and we never want to contract, and you will contract. We're going into winter right now where we are in the world, and people are always fighting the feelings of like, why is everything feeling like this? And it's like we're in eclipse season, we're entering winter, everything inside of us wants to go inward while we're all trying to just be expansion. No, just contract. Go into hibernation.
Yeah, what's the worst thing that can happen?
You will expand
Well,
again.
you have to be silent and be with yourself because you have to allow the old parts of you to die. So it's very
And
uncomfortable.
die. Let him die.
I know, but I'm a masochist. Like, give it to me. I tell my mentor, like, give it to me. Let's do this. Like,
Hey,
I want to get it
it's a
done.
Scorpio thing.
It's a Scorpio thing. It's nuts, but I love it. And that's what I'm here for. It's what I'm here for as a soul. So I'm so appreciative of this avatar that I have.
Yes, exactly.
I have a couple of questions for you, and I know that these are already going to give us a lot of juiciness. So I was curious as you were speaking, what is the biggest problem that you see men face? And is there a connection to circumcision?
The biggest problem with the men that I work with, um, internalized shame around being the animal they are. And it's complex. So we're telling men, because we come from cave times and we're evolving out of dark ages, that they need to be civilized. And in that process of, hey, don't rape women, don't be an animal, respect, be attuned, listen, don't have sex till marriage, don't touch yourself. We're basically domesticating men. And in that domestication, which has felt important and also like a spiritual social evolution for us to have a more coherent society where we're not raping and killing each other, which, I mean, is still happening. That shows you, all the systems of oppression or jail, or like we're trying to mitigate the evolution of the beast within. And so the biggest problem I see is a lack of education in learning how to embrace the beast within instead of deny it.
Hmm.
So that lack
Because
of
then it's
education,
going to distort, right? And then kind of come out in these
right,
inverted versions.
exactly.
Okay.
So instead of actually denying it, we should be embracing it and integrating it. And actually the people, because okay, to brass tacks, men want to provide, they want to penetrate, they know at a biological level they came to leave a legacy behind, and that physically looks like putting something inside of a woman, putting their seed in woman. So if they go to brass tacks, you realize that, like, they feel the innate desire to penetrate the world with their vision, their direction, their seed, woman, and leave themselves behind. So all they want from the world, from woman, is to be received. And when they are misattuned in that penetration, and they are told to deny the part of them that is the driving force within them, the animalistic force that goes penetrate, give, put the seed behind, leave it. There's no information around all the emotional, spiritual force that comes and develops hormonally within them from childhood into teenage years. They lack the information, the spiritual, emotional information around turn on, their emotional compass, how to meet that animal with a lot of respect instead of denial. And so the biggest problem I see, to answer your question, is that it's the result of that, which is so much internalized shame that it becomes deviated. And in that, there is a part that also becomes very, this is very controversial to say, but in a way, there is a lot of internalized homophobia, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of because give men give each other more permission for the beast to exist, then there is a distortion in wanting to experience more themselves as more sexual beastly men. And so then it's no different than when you're working with a therapist who you don't necessarily know, you know that you're not necessarily, they're not your person, but because they're holding space for you, you all of a sudden go, am I attracted to you? Do I want to have sex with you because I can cry with you? The same happens in confusion when you have a bunch of dudes holding space for each other's beasts, and they cannot be that with the women in their lives because it would come out as rape or inappropriate because the women don't know how to hold that space for men. They have not cultivated that or learned how to say no to, without fully denying the beast in men, but actually respectfully saying no. There's a lack of information in all places, and systemically is creating a dissonance between the masculine and the feminine that just denies the animal and makes them go with each other. And there's a documentary called The Dancing Boys of Afghanistan, and it basically talks about the culture
Yes.
around rape and of boys and in the Middle East, and just the permission they have to experience their sexual desire. And so I think that they're all distortions around the masculine and feminine coming together in coherent ways because of a lack of accepting who we are and embracing our natural forces without denying them so much. And this is something that I work with men a lot. I've taught a few classes on this. I used to run a class, online class and live class called Embracing the Beast. And I was teaching men how to accept their animal in a way that was respectful and coherent and beautiful for society and the women in their lives.
This is huge.
It is huge. And
This is huge. Yeah, like, whoa. And it makes perfect sense when now, as you were speaking so eloquently and beautifully, and you articulated yourself so well, but like some men would have reached, people reach out to me all the time, and uh, a good amount of them, they experience a lot of shame, erection
Mhm.
shame,
Yes. Yes.
just so uncomfortable in their body.
Mhm.
And it almost becomes, it's them and then their cock, like they're two separate entities.
Yes.
And then it's like it becomes this battle, this internal battle between them and like shame. And it's like, yeah, like shame is almost like the shared carpet that they have to like, I don't know what I'm saying, if that even makes sense, but I'm
Oh,
just
you were
visual.
naming it.
Yeah, like it's just like it's just like face, and then I can't control you, and like how dare you, and so then those archetypes of shame are coming online, and they're hating
Mhm.
themselves, and then that will invert to other ways that they can start externally expressing hate.
Exactly. And there's so much, it's almost like they've forgotten the part. I call it in the field of, and in the group of facilitators that I've been working with in the last year, there's a concept of sensing when a man is not in his cock.
Yes.
And you can sense the same for women. And like they're not in their pussy when they walk into the room. It's basically you have denied the part of you that would sense yourself as a sexual being because you're so afraid of what it might mean and how you might treat people. You do not trust yourself to to accept that to get turned on in public, instead of actually accepting that you get turned on and that it is beautiful and it is aliveness and that it doesn't have to ever disrupt anyone. But because you keep denying it, then all of a sudden when you feel it, then you trespass someone's boundaries like a misattuned, untrained person. And this is something you should have learned when you were 5.
Yeah.
Instead, when you were 5 and you started touching yourself, your mother told you to never touch your penis when it's hard,
Yeah.
or your pussy, to never masturbate, that is terrible and shameful and that God would punish you because of it.
Yeah.
I certainly was shamed for masturbating, but because I found so much relief in masturbation from eczema, from the chaotic household I lived in, I knew it was life saving to me. And I knew that my mother was confused.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to continue doing this behind closed doors when nobody's watching, because it literally is my appointment with God in a super chaotic home.
Yeah.
And then I taught all of my girlfriends, and it's really what, like, I always knew it was healthy. I always knew it was healthy. That it was a personal power thing. That if you could take yourself to a place of healing, yummy pleasure without any story, it was a somatic experience. I didn't know anything about sex. I just knew that if you touch yourself in these ways, you're going to reach peak experiences of feeling, and you're going to be in this blissed out space that is going to make you be grateful that you exist in your body. And that was about the only time I was grateful to be in my body, because I was covered in eczema.
Wow.
And so I was like, no, mom, you're wrong. Like, this is literally the only thing I do that makes me not want to die. And so I was like, okay, she can be wrong and I can continue doing this. And in that made me accept my beast and accept the beast in others and know when they were in disarray. I grew up with maybe 12 or 15 boys and girls in the building that I was in Venezuela. And there was a lot of sexuality being thrown around very early culturally. Magazines born, boys who are basically being culturally being guided to kind of think about sex too fast, and we were as women expected to be sexualized and like learn how to dance and be sexy pretty fast. And I had already discovered masturbation, and I had experienced some sexual molestation and advances, and so I grew up fast when it came to this knowledge, but always with a very wide understanding around the fact that it was like the trespassing that had been done to me was a result of a deeply ashamed society that wants to feel more good, wants to feel more turn on, wants to feel more yummy, heal in pleasure. And it's just so repressed, it wants to grab what it wants really fast and take what's theirs. But if you actually see that it's available to you and the bounty is flourishing, there's enough for all of us. And it is an individual responsibility to cultivate that sense of well-being and pleasure and let yourself heal through it. It is your responsibility to yourself and your body. And that will make you accept the beast in others and actually set boundaries. Everything happens from there. Like you said, it's like, that's something you have to think about. The information becomes available because of how honoring you're being with yourself.
Yeah. Knowledge, you don't seek knowledge. Knowledge comes to you, actually. And knowledge redeems you from ignorance. So I love that you said that. And that just kind of, I guess we'll like inject that into the unfoldment is like these, like that's what an epiphany is. It's the knowledge hits and you're like, oh my God, like that makes sense now. So now you've been redeemed from that ignorance. And it's so true. Like really thinking about this beast and having a distorted perspective on it or viewpoint lens is ultimately rejection of self.
Yes.
And if we're not fully accepting ourself as we are, then that love that is like being completely misplaced is not going to allow us to really send that love that could fill us of loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, and giving that to our partners, giving that to the world, and being so in tune that we feel like we deserve and we're worthy of our dreams. We're worthy of taking up space. We're worthy of really feeling deeply into this human body, into this life that we're in. And I think that, yeah, it's sexuality is the portal to the, I mean, there's no better healing. Like there really isn't. And I think specifically with women and with men, I definitely think there is that not being at battle with their cock and really understanding and integrating this beast. And I was thinking while you were speaking, there's like a portion of people that I just like want to shout out to for a minute. It's just like all of the intact men. So I have their stories too that they come to me. This isn't all just about circumcision, right? This is affecting women, this is affecting men, and this is affecting the men that actually were left whole. And the amount of shame that they have is I think it's more profound because society thinks that they're disgusting and gross. So they have had to hide their entire life in the locker room. They've been bullied. One of my really close guy friends, he is intact, and he's kind of just like my little confidant. And he remembers like pulling his foreskin back, retracting it back,
Mm.
just and he thought often he actually went to an appointment to get a circumcision. And the saddest, one of the saddest, I mean, the infants, it's like, how do you compare these stories of all this genital shame and distortion? It's the ones that were so ashamed and hated their cock for so long that they felt in order to fit in and to attract like a woman that they really wanted, because a lot of women are laughing at them too, which is just like so sad. This genital shaming of one another is just so sad to me. It's very sad. And they go on and get a circumcision,
Oh yeah.
and their hearts, well, one, like depending on where they go, they will just like, what's the word I'm thinking? Um, they don't destroy it, but they just like do a really older circumcisions, from what I know, and some doctors aren't that good at it. They can mess up the penis pretty bad. There's been like the cuts get really um just, they're not like circular and perfect, because you want to be sure that he's able to stand up straight, but a lot of times like they get
It
turned over, but
pulls.
they
Yeah.
pulls, yeah. And then yeah, a lot of them are in a lot of pain even after, because they cut so much skin off. But usually if you're going older, you can decide exactly how you want it to look, and a lot of parents can decide how they want their children to look. And the ones that have low and tight, well, actually it's a high and tight, it's like it's a lot, as much foreskin as possible. Like all, that's why there's like pubic hair that runs on some men's shafts, is because that's actually skin that was pulled to
Mhm.
compensate for the extraction of the foreskin, the amputation. And so a lot of hair will grow on the shaft because that it belongs to the pubis.
Wow.
And so these men are just like, hey, I wasn't cut as a baby, but I got cut when I was in my 20s or a couple years ago, and I am miserable. Like nobody told me the sensitivity loss.
Mm.
Nobody told me the difference that I would feel. Nobody. And I am devastated.
Mm.
It is, it's horrible. And
I
then
mean, I hear it. I remember growing up and hearing the whole conversation on women wanting to edit their vulvas because
mhm.
porn had given them this idea that they were supposed to look a certain way.
Yeah, labiaplasties.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like, I remember like when that notion came into my brain, I was just like, what? And I remember even the day I first heard about circumcision, and I could not even believe it. I was just like, what is circumcision? And nothing made sense. It's like if I doubted the system, if I was already a conspiracy theorist as a child, when I heard about circumcision, I was like,
Masturbating.
oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. This is definitely part of it. Because
Yeah.
it's like you don't cut a baby's penis off for what reason? And for it to be used, for it to be such a deep, intense religious reason with all these excuses, for it to be so embedded in the psyche of people as a must, as a thing that you must do, that feels like the insidious part.
It's the worst part. It's like coming out talking about the castration of newborns, and then everyone literally hates you for it. Like the fact that there's such this deep level of brainwashing that's happening, that they have to attack you. And
Right.
it's the psychic attacks, and it's like the biggest circumcision is the biggest beast. Like I was telling you yesterday, there I've got done every rabbit hole, name it, I've done it. So I'm not going to get into those, but it's like Stockholm syndrome. So it's like they think a lot of these men are thinking the oppressor, and then internalized repression, and then divorce rates, suicide rates, religion, sex, just like the way that men's conditioning, the patriarchy. I mean, I could just, and then I go just write it down, and I'm just like, oh my God, and then all these health issues. And it's just, you find out autism, SIDS, like it's everywhere.
we just don't know what doing anything to the body can do. I saw a video of a child who had fallen on his tailbone a couple of times when he was a child, a baby. Now he's like 8 or 10. Oh no, he was 11, and he had a stomach issue that nobody could figure out. He was living in eating Tums to feel better, and he went to a chiropractor who then was able to tell him, "Oh, I need to adjust your tailbone. You
Yeah,
have discs that are off." And I'm like, we don't know what we're doing, or maybe we do when we
right.
castrate boys. And that's the part that you and I have been following that we're not going to mention here. That feels like it's enough of a reason for us to be having this conversation. And
100%.
I think that for anybody watching, our biggest reason to have this conversation right now is to give everyone a sense of hope that there is sovereignty in you to choose to heal from this, forgive the wrongdoings, and go into the emotional, spiritual, and physical pain of having gone through that tunnel and go into the tunnel again and recover your sovereignty. Find the people that you can do this work with. Jenna and I are available. Um, the work that I do is different than hers. Together, we can definitely integrate you. And there's all over people all over the world who are available and willing, and your body will tell you who it feels safe with. So just go into it, inquire into yourself, go into your heart, meet your spirit with willingness, and ask it what it needs to return to sovereignty around this, so that you can return to mother, return to self, and love the feminine within you and outside of you, so that the world can return to peace. But this is a conversation about hope and restoration, that there is definitely hope.
Yeah. I swear we're having a telepathic connection. Uh, because my last portion of this was just really talking about the call. Like
Yes.
there is such a big call for men to rise right now.
Yes.
And you are needed.
Yes.
You are necessary. Women deeply desire you. There is a part of you inside that you know is there, that is real,
Mm.
that is ready to be seen by the world and to blossom.
Yes.
The issue is that there are healable archetypes, conversations, and thoughts that are coming in that are preventing you from getting there. That is part of becoming the warrior and the hero of your journey. Those are the internal dragons that you have to defeat, and you can. This calling is bigger than you. Like it
Yes.
is so much bigger than you just healing your penis. This is really showing up in your divine masculinity, restoring him back onto this earth so that we can all be led into the new world, into a new system, into a new way of seeing each other, holding each other, being with one another, and creating better, more memories so that every child that comes onto this planet is a higher, more ascended, beautiful being. And that we can put a stop to all of the things that need to come to a stop to. It's you. It's you that we are deeply, Elise and I, we feel you.
Mhm.
As women, we feel you.
And who
And
deeply love and desire men,
yes,
who are
deeply.
very attuned to our desire for the masculine, and who want to be both in all capacity penetrated, led, and provided, and want to receive all that is the healthy masculine and multiply that legacy forward into the future.
Yeah.
We need you to deeply meet yourself like you've never met yourself before.
Yeah. And then remember that unfoldment. New women, you may have had people in the past who are horrible. I know we're not all like excused from our behavior,
Right.
but when we begin to heal and love
All
ourselves
the
and
above.
accept ourselves, yeah, we call in, we begin to magnetize the unfoldment of how the universe responds. So, man, Elise, I could talk to you all day.
Yes, we
Well,
could.
I think we just need to leave it because that was a really beautiful ending, very inspirational, but also to give people excitement because I think we need to do this again.
Yes, yes.
And we are coming up with a mini offer together that we will be doing. So stay tuned for that. Just imagine something very cinematic.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Elise, thank you so much for everything that you do, for being such a dear sister and friend to me, and for being of service to humanity in the way that you are. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and let's continue our work together and individually. Thank you for the work you're doing with men and women in the world. And I'll be praying for you and blessing your path.
Oh, likewise. All right. Until next time, everybody. Love you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.